There is a quiet truth about modern life that almost nobody says out loud, and it is that some of the most functional people you see every day are not actually living in the way we imagine living. They are just continuing, moving from one obligation to another, replying when they are expected to reply, smiling when it is socially required, showing up when absence would raise questions, and slowly building a version of life that looks normal from the outside, but feels strangely distant from the inside. And this is exactly what psychologists refer to when they talk about the psychology of people who secretly feel exhausted by life. A state that is not just physical tiredness, but emotional depletion, cognitive overload, and nervous system fatigue all combined into one silent weight that follows a person everywhere they go. And the most interesting part is that this condition does not usually announce itself loudly. It develops slowly, almost invisibly, like a background process running in the mind that gradually consumes energy until even small tasks feel unusually heavy. And in American psychological research, this is often connected to chronic burnout patterns, emotional suppression cycles, and what some clinicians describe as high-functioning emotional fatigue, where a person can still perform responsibilities but internally feels disconnected from reward, meaning, and sometimes even identity. And to understand this deeper, we have to look at how the human brain actually adapts to prolonged stress, because the brain is not designed to keep feeling everything at full intensity all the time. So when stress, pressure, responsibility, emotional demands, and internal expectations continue without sufficient recovery, the nervous system begins to protect itself by reducing sensitivity, almost like turning down the volume on life itself. And while this protective mechanism prevents complete breakdown, it also creates a side effect, which is emotional numbness. And this is why many people in this state report feeling nothing or empty, instead of feeling sad or anxious in a clear way, because even those emotions become muted. And what makes this even more complicated is that these individuals often do not look like they are struggling in obvious ways. In fact, many of them are high achievers, responsible personalities, people others depend on, people who are used to being strong for everyone else, and because of that identity, they rarely allow themselves the space to fall apart, so everything they suppress does not disappear. It accumulates internally, and over time this creates a psychological split between outward functioning and inward experience, where the outer self continues performing life tasks, while the inner self slowly detaches from emotional participation. And this is where many people start feeling like they are watching their own life instead of living it, as if there is a glass wall between them and the world, and even moments that should feel meaningful start feeling distant or artificial. And one of the biggest misconceptions about this state is that people assume it is simply sadness or laziness or lack of motivation. But psychologically, it is far more complex, because motivation itself is closely tied to the brain's reward system, especially dopamine regulation. And when the reward system becomes overstressed or understimulated for long periods, even things that used to bring joy no longer trigger the same emotional response. And this creates a confusing experience where the person remembers what happiness used to feel like, but cannot access it in the same way anymore. And this often leads to self-blame, because they assume something is wrong with their personality or discipline, when in reality, it is a nervous system that has been pushed beyond its optimal range for too long. And another layer that deepens this issue is modern lifestyle structure itself, especially in fast-paced cultures where productivity is not just a behavior but an identity, where people are constantly exposed to comparison, deadlines, digital overload, and the pressure to constantly improve. And the human mind, which evolved in environments of rhythm, rest, and natural cycles, now finds itself in an environment of constant stimulation without natural recovery points. And this mismatch between biological design and modern demands is one of the hidden drivers of emotional exhaustion today. Because when the brain never gets real downtime, it starts to shut down internally, even while the body keeps going externally. And this is why many people experience symptoms like emotional flatness, irritability over small things, lack of interest in social interaction, or a feeling of being mentally far away. And as this continues, a person may begin to withdraw emotionally while still participating socially, which creates a strange contrast where they are present in conversations but not fully present internally. And if this state continues for months or years without intervention, it can evolve into deeper burnout patterns where even decision-making feels overwhelming, because the brain starts conserving energy by reducing cognitive load, and everyday choices that once felt automatic now require effort. And this is also why people in this condition often procrastinate, not out of laziness, but because their mental system is already overloaded, and adding one more task feels like pushing an already strained system beyond its limit. And what is important to understand here is that this is not a character failure. It is a capacity issue. The same way a phone slows down when too many apps are running in the background, the human mind also slows down when too many unresolved processes are active internally. And the tragedy is that most people interpret this slowdown as personal weakness rather than system overload. So they respond with more pressure, more self-criticism, more forcing themselves to just be productive, which actually deepens the exhaustion cycle because the nervous system does not recover under pressure. It recovers under safety, consistency, and reduced demand. And this is where psychology becomes very clear. Healing from this state does not begin with pushing harder. It begins with allowing space for restoration, even if that feels unfamiliar at first, because when someone has been in survival mode for a long time, rest can initially feel uncomfortable, almost like doing nothing is unsafe. And this is why many people avoid slowing down, because slowing down brings awareness, and awareness brings feelings they have been suppressing for a long time. And those feelings can feel overwhelming at first. Sadness that was delayed, anger that was ignored, grief that was never processed, and confusion about how they ended up feeling this way. But psychologically, this release is actually the beginning of recalibration, because the nervous system cannot reset while everything is still being held inside. And slowly, as a person starts creating small pockets of recovery, even simple things like quiet moments without stimulation, reduced social pressure, or allowing themselves to feel without immediately judging it, the internal system begins to stabilize. Not instantly, not dramatically, but gradually. Like a fog slowly lifting from a long road. And what becomes clear over time is that this exhaustion was never a permanent identity. It was a state, a response, a signal that something in the balance of life had become unsustainable. And once a person stops interpreting that signal as personal failure and starts seeing it as information, everything changes internally, because now they are not fighting themselves anymore. They are understanding themselves, and that shift alone reduces a significant amount of internal pressure. And in that reduced pressure, something very subtle begins to return. First, a small interest in things again, then moments of emotional presence, then brief experiences of meaning that feel real instead of forced. And even though the process is not linear, and there are still days where exhaustion returns, the difference is that now the person recognizes it as a wave rather than a permanent state, and that recognition alone prevents the spiral from becoming identity. And over time, with patience and consistent emotional recovery, the mind starts to reconnect with life in a more stable way, not as a rushed transformation, but as a gradual return to internal balance. And this is perhaps the most important psychological insight of all, that people who feel exhausted by life are not broken systems. They are overloaded systems trying to protect themselves. And once the load is adjusted and the system is given permission to breathe again, the human mind has an incredible ability to recover, adapt, and slowly rediscover a version of life that feels lighter, more grounded and more real. And in that rediscovery, the person does not become someone new. They simply return to themselves without the constant weight that once made everything feel harder than it actually was.